Where do most of your dollars go when you buy an iPhone? What do you think? Let's go. Let's do the bidding. A little over 700 of you have these clickers, which is great. You say mostly to the United States. Some of you say to China. And then some of you say, a few of you say Japan. 11 of you think Germany. Well, here's where your dollars go. Most of your dollars are going to Japan. Some of your dollars are going to Germany. In fact, Germany is the second biggest one. South Korea is the third. And here, 6% of your dollars are going to the United States, and only 3.6% of your dollars are going to China. Now, it's assembled in China. Do you get this? It's assembled in China. But the assembly is of pieces from all over the place. Everything is coming from everywhere. I want my students to see it's not just cost of wages or labor, it's also which country's workers add what value. My Mini Cooper is made by a foreign company. But where a company is headquartered means less and less in this new global economy. Technologies like cargo ships, containers, satellite communication technologies, and eventually computers and the internet, these technologies enabled the production process to be parceled out around the world. Large numbers of American manufacturing workers began to lose their jobs, which meant it inevitably began undercutting the wages of a lot of working Americans. Even factories remaining in the United States shed workers as they automated. You know, we have this romantic idea that we can get manufacturing back, but you get manufacturing plants back and they're filled with robots and computers. The old assembly line is gone.
I was one of the earliest investors in Amazon.com. I consider Amazon.com to be one of the greatest economic achievements of our time, and certainly something I'm incredibly proud of. But make no mistake, Amazon.com employs 60,000 people and does 70, 80 billion in sales. But if mom and pop retailers were doing that 70 or 80 billion in sales, it wouldn't be 60,000 people employed doing it. It'd be 600,000 or 800,000 or 1 million people, because those business models are so much less efficient. So Amazon created a huge economic windfall here in the Pacific Northwest, but all over the country, there are people who are no longer employed in selling stuff who are not happy.
As a manager in Circuit City, it was a look behind the curtain, so to speak, as a manager, to see exactly how everything worked.
So when you got laid off, did you see it coming or was it sudden?
They did several layoffs while I was there. People who had been there too long, they're making too much money because they've been there too long, and we're gonna have to do something to cut the payroll. The hardest part was thinking, is it gonna happen to me? Until I became a student, it was pretty dicey. I mean, it would have been easy for me to just fall into depression, which happens to a lot of people, or go for a lower paying job, which would have put me in a worse financial situation. Looking back on it, you can see the pattern. It's not as easy to see when you're in it, but the signs were there. I mean, there was a major slowdown in business, and I think that a lot of that had to do with things like Amazon. Because I've been in retail for so long, I don't go through the automated checkout lines. And one of the main reasons is because I know that every time I go through that, it's taking a little bit of someone's job away. It's not that I think that I'm going to save their jobs in the long run, but I know that I'm going to slow down the transition a little bit so that maybe they're going to have a little bit longer to get ready for the transition.
Contrary to popular mythology, globalization and technology haven't really reduced the number of jobs available to Americans. These transformations have reduced their pay. I mean, it's not just that wages are stagnating, but when you take into consideration rising costs, the rising costs of rents or homes, dramatically increasing costs of healthcare, the rising costs of childcare, and also the rising costs of higher education, rising much faster than inflation. Take